Okay, we'll get started. We'd like to welcome Patrick Cantlay into the interview room. He's making his 8th appearance at the BMW Championship, and he is our 2021 and 2022 champion. Patrick, welcome back to the BMW. And now here we are at Castle Pines. If we can get some thoughts on being here this week.
Yeah, definitely. Change from being, some of the venues that we've seen the last few years. But it should be interesting. The ball's going to go really far this week. And the golf course is in great shape. Looks like we're going to get good weather, so should be good.
7 out of 8 years for you making it to East Lake. You're number 9 in the FedEx Cup standings. Talk a little bit about the state of your game as we come down to these last 2 events.
Yeah, I feel good about my game. I'd say my results have been going in the right direction the last few months. I had a poor first round last week, but other than that, I played really well the last 3 days, and so carry some of that momentum into this week.
All right, we'll open it up to questions. If you'll raise your hand, we'll get a microphone to you. Yeah, we'll start with Ron, and then we'll go Doug after that. Well, actually, Doug and then Ron. Sorry.
Do you wish more of the playoff events moved around like this one does? I guess there's only one other to choose from, but do you like
this tournament's moved. I think most years changes. We've played at a bunch of different venues. Since I think we've had just the 3 events. The first one's been at Memphis, and it's been at East Lake. East Lake, you could count as a move this year. The golf course, I think, is going to be quite a bit different. But I think it's fine how it is.
Okay. Ron?
Obviously, there's a lot of elevation here, but does anything about 8,100 yards on the scorecard make you shake your head or think that we've sort of reached a new frontier here or something?
It's a longer walk, I'll tell you that. There's going to be some tired caddies at the end of this week with the uphill and the downhill and the 8,100 yards. I mean, the ball's going farther, but we got to walk all that way.
You guys play at sea level. You learn what you can and can't do in different places. How much work this week? Is it more so than usual trying to figure out what's going to go how far?
Yeah, definitely. You have to pay attention to it, and I think the biggest thing is paying attention to trajectory. If you get the ball a little up in the air, it can go quite a bit farther. And in general, the landing areas aren't bigger, even though the dispersion is going to be bigger. So there's just a little more emphasis on distance control and controlling your trajectory to make sure you play the right. It's roughly 10%, so you get that 10% extra.
Okay, right here, second row.
So Max Homa has the official tour record at 477 yards for the longest drive. Are drives like that in play this week? I'm thinking specifically over there at number 1, maybe.
He must have hit a cart path or something. 477. I'm not sure. I think to hit it past 477, you'd need some extra special help.
Okay. All right, let's go over here to Ben.
Why have you been able to go to the new events, the new places for this event, and just pick up and win?
I don't know if I know the answer. I have played well in general this time of year. In general, it's been warm. It's if I could tell you, I'd bottle it up and do it at other times of the year or on other golf courses. But this tournament in general is played on bent grass greens, which I tend to putt well. And I've had some events, some BMW events where I've putted really well. And so this week's no different.
And why do you think that we've seen, I guess, momentum in playoffs be a thing since its inception? A lot of guys winning twice, etc.
Yeah, I think it's 3 weeks in a row, and even though they're all standalone weeks, with the new schedule or new format change, the last week feels more like the end of a 3-week stretch as opposed to a standalone week. And so the guys that are playing well, I think it's, not only do they get the advantage of starting ahead at East Lake, but they're also playing well. So I think it feeds on itself a little bit.
All right, right here, same row.
Do you feel like this week is especially challenging between the altitude and the new course?
I don't think so. I think the altitude, with all the help we have with the TrackMans and the devices, it's pretty easy to see how far it's going. And we learn new golf courses all the time. So I don't think it'll be too big of a change or too difficult.
All right, back to Ben.
Everyone knows you and Xander are good mates and hang out a bit. Have you had any side action between the two on this season, and how far behind are you if that's the case?
We have action at home all the time. He's been getting better of me as of late. He's played really well this year. It's been fun to watch. We are really good friends, and he's playing extremely good golf. We played with him yesterday, and it's a pleasure to watch out there.
Are you trying to get one up on him over the next 2 weeks, though, I'm guessing?
Oh yeah, I try to get one up on him every day.
All right, back to Doug.
Do you ever grade yourself? And if you did, what kind of grade would you give yourself, and why? Try and give a long answer.
I don't really grade myself. I feel like this year's been average, but there's a couple events left, and a lot of times a golf season can turn around in a week or two. And so I've been working really hard, and my game's trending in the right direction. On a couple, this golf course I think fits my game really well, and with my game being in a good spot, I feel comfortable and confident going into these last 2 weeks.
Okay, two more. What makes it average?
I would say I haven't won, which I think is a standard that a lot of the guys out here hold themselves to. I do definitely, and I've had maybe not the most consistent year from my perspective. I've had some ups and downs, but I've had a lot of good weeks, and like I said, the last couple months have been encouraging, and I've been playing pretty good. So a week or two can change.
And then kind of on that, I hear this from a couple guys, I don't know if you're in the same boat, of not getting too result obsessed. Are you that kind of person?
Try to be. It's hard not to get result obsessed because that's what you're going through the process for. But my process isn't going to change too much. I realize that hard work each and every day and staying committed to the process that my team and I have laid out is the best way to get those results, and hyper-focusing on those results isn't going to help.
What does that look like, do you think, to an average fan when someone is just so caught up in outcome? What would they see? Taking on pins they shouldn't, and do you ever fall into that trap?
Well, about taking on pins, I'm sure it looks different for everybody. I think a lot of the best players are not very result-oriented, or at least in the way that they go about it in a day-to-day. I think being result-oriented, it's better to be that way when you have a backward-looking view so you can assess. So if you assess your results at the end of a year, looking back, it can help you game plan to set up a better process going forward. But I don't think while you're in the middle of it, it's necessarily helpful to hyper-focus on 1 week or one round result-wise.
Do you look back at the end of the year?
Definitely. Look back at stats, look back at cadence of the schedule. Because I think it's important to, tweak ever so slightly your process or your game plan with a long-term approach.
Can I ask one more just because I'm on a roll?
Are you okay?
You are on a roll.
I'm just really curious, and I've heard you say this from time to time, that if something goes wrong, it's something I'm going to learn from. How do you learn from it if you, for example, if you hit one OB to the right on the last hole?
Thanks for that, Amos.
Well, I'm trying to think of something else, but
Sure.
it's not like you did it on purpose. I mean, next
Right.
time you're in that position, surely you're not thinking, all right, don't block this right. How exactly do you learn from a mistake?
Well, I think the more times you're in a high-pressure situation, the better you'll handle it. And I think you see that with some of the best players over time. They look more comfortable. They play more what you would call regular because they're there all the time. It's easier for them to do it because they've experienced it. It's not the first time they've stood on a tee box knowing they need to make a par or a birdie or hit the fairway to give themselves a chance to win a tournament. So from that point of view, I think anytime you get in contention, it's really helpful in normalizing being in contention.
All right, let's go to Adam on the aisle.
While you're busy grading things, how do you grade the signature events for the first year?
I feel like they've gone really well. I've talked to a number of the guys, and they feel like the events are, some of the best they've played in their time being on the PGA Tour. I feel like the sponsors have been happy with it. The golf courses have been in great shape. So I think they've gone really well.
And a grade would be? What a grade would you give it?
A.
Okay. Do you think field sizes need to change?
I think it's something we should always be looking at. I mean, but I think you have to give it some time. We made obviously some significant changes in the last year or two, and so analyzing this year because it has been a significant change and seeing what the effects are. And I know we're doing that at the PAC and board level.
With only 2 events left in the playoffs, do you feel like you have that? Like that's the amount of time you have left to get a win, or do you plan to play some fall if you don't get a win?
I'm definitely focused on the next couple of weeks. I don't plan on playing too much in the fall, if at all. So I'm going to put everything I've got into these next 2 weeks.
All right, all set? Doug? All right. Okay,
Sure.
one more right here. And we'll get a microphone to you here.
So have you played much in Colorado at all over your career as a youngster? Or I know you went to UCLA, so probably not. But obviously it's different playing at altitude, as you've kind of touched on a bit. But you've had an opportunity to walk the course, play the course now. It's kind of a different monster. And as over 8,100 yards is the biggest, longest it's been on the PGA Tour in history. Just how do you approach this kind of different animal this week, along with all that comes with, the magnitude of this event?
Sure. I think I played maybe one tournament in Colorado. I qualified for the U.S. Amateur here when I was, I think, a sophomore or junior in high school. It was a long time ago. And as far as the golf course being long, it doesn't play that long just because the golf ball goes so much further at the elevation. So I don't think we would approach it too much differently than any other week, other than you really do have to pay attention to trajectory and controlling your distance coming into greens, because every club is going to go further than what it does normally, which means that the dispersion is further. And so, the fact that I'll hit my 7-iron this week maybe 20 yards shorter than my 6-iron, it's just that much more important to be, dialed in and taking a little off or controlling your trajectory up or down to make sure it goes the proper distance. Yeah. Yeah, fortunately I only played 9 holes today, but there are some serious climbs out there.
All right, we'll wrap it up with Doug.
I did have one more.
Very
Just out of
fitting.
sheer curiosity. Did you watch much TV when you were a kid? Golf, excuse me, let me clarify.
Golf?
Yeah,
Yeah, I definitely watch golf with my dad.
all the time?
Compared to most other kids, I'm sure.
Okay. What did you get out of it? What did it do for you as a 12-year-old?
I feel like we watched a lot of Tiger winning tournaments. I can feel like I watched that all the time. I remember one time we watched the Ryder Cup, and my dad told me, I feel like the U.S. is going to lose, all their matches today, even though they were up. I can't remember which one it was. I was maybe 10 or something like that. And I didn't realize that he had it on tape delay. And he already knew that the U.S. got blown out in singles. And I just was watching there in disbelief. They lost, 8 or 9 of the singles matches and lost. I didn't feel too happy when he told me he knew beforehand.
Did you have a favorite tournament?
A favorite tournament? I went to Riviera growing up with my dad and my grandfather, so that was always kind of my favorite.
I meant watching on TV. I mean, the Masters is usually everyone's pick, but was there anything else that really stood out?
Probably the Masters. It's so it comes across so well on TV, and it's getting to go back to the same place every year, seeing all the players play from the same areas. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard not to pick the Masters.
All right, Patrick, as always, thank you for your time.
All right,
Best
thank you.
of luck this week.